Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us once again. My name is Jacqueline Bryan. I'm the Public Relations Officer at the National Emergency Management Agency, affectionately called Nema. And we are here at the 13th staging of the Caribbean Conference on Comprehensive Disaster Management, called CDM13. And this is what we're calling CDM13 Table Talks, brought to you by Nema. We have been identifying key persons who are participating in the conference, whether they're representing very important organizations or they were presenting research findings. Once we thought they played a critical role and they were available, we sort of dragged them in to have an interview with us. And we are very grateful to the persons who have agreed to sit down and speak with us and let you know a bit more about what they're doing, what their role in disaster management is, and how we are all coming together to work towards a more resilient region. Today, I'm joined by Ariel Kestens. He is the head of delegation for the English and Dutch-speaking Caribbean with the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. I also have Roxane Brookes. She is the president of the St. Kitts and Nevis Red Cross Society, and you might have heard that name before. So I'm very happy to have you here. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having us.
On short notice, might I add. It's a very dynamic conference. You got to grab them when you get them. So this is a very important conference, and it's not just charting a way forward, but it has a very reflective aspect. And so I also use this opportunity to reflect on the partnership and relationship Nema has had with the St. Kitts and Nevis Red Cross Society. It goes back years. So tell us a little bit about the Red Cross Society and its operations here in St. Kitts and Nevis, and about the relationship that the organization has with Nema.
Okay, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. And as you so correctly said, St. Kitts and Nevis, the Red Cross Society, has been a part of, sometimes it's almost, where do we split the gaps? Is it Red Cross, Nema, Red Cross? We hold each other hands so closely through the years, and that's a good thing. Red Cross have been around in St. Kitts Nevis for a very long time, initially when we were a colony under Great Britain, but most recently and importantly for current time, we became a member of the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent when we got independence in 1983, and then we became a member in 1985. So we have been present and functional in the landscape of St. Kitts and Nevis for the past just about 39 years.
Wow.
Yes, next year is our 40th anniversary.
Yeah,
Yes.
we need to have a shindig.
Oh, yeah, we will. So to answer your question about what do we do, we work, Red Cross is a member of the International Federation, as we said. It's a humanitarian organization. And our role is to support, we are auxiliary to state, which means we have an act that makes us a legal entity with public authorities, which many persons do not realize, and I wish to use this platform. So we are not an NGO. We have a special and distinct partnership with state. And we work closely, of course, most closely with our National Disaster Department. So Nema on St. Kitts and NDMD on Nevis. Our role predominantly surrounds preparedness. We are very big on preparedness. So we're work along with Nema and independently within our communities in preparedness. So we serve in the training of community disaster response team, shelter and shelter management. We are also responsible for having prepositioned supplies in country ahead of a disaster. So we have prepositioned stocks throughout St. Kitts and in Nevis. And these would include hygiene kits, tarpaulins, things that we are in a position to support our communities, our most vulnerable, should a disaster strike, versus waiting. So we are a proactive organization. Then, of course, as most persons are familiar with Red Cross in the first aid context,
Yes.
So we are the lead providers of first aid, both in training within the communities and also the provision of first aid to ensure a safe community during public events.
And that's why one of the reasons why I'm so happy to speak with you today, because I know a lot of people know Red Cross as the people in the tent when we're having a sports day, but they don't always know Red Cross as the group of dedicated volunteers who provide critical support to the National Emergency Management Agency, particularly when a disaster strikes. And that is the Red Cross I'm happy to have a discussion about today. So you actually have an exhibition here at CDM 13 in the Resilience Village, which is the exhibition area. And I don't know if you have had a lot of people coming through there, but it's an opportunity for people to learn more about the organization. So, what can you say you see your role here at this conference being, and wider as a member now or stakeholder within CDMA?
Okay, so Red Cross role at the conference. So as you mentioned, we have what's called a resilient village. It's a map, and it guides participants. It's intended to draw individuals' interest around the theme is resilience. So what does Red Cross do for resilience? And it focuses around community involvement, because we sit here as heads of organizations, of parts of groups, ministers, etc. But the most important thing when we speak about resilience, it's really at the grassroots. It's within our communities. So it shows what Red Cross does in the various countries, here in St. Kitts Nevis, building up to a more resilient community. So that's one of our objectives here. For persons to play the game, as simple as it looks, it guides you along the steps and help persons to recognize resilience. It starts from the community and come up. That's where it's most important. And I think that as part of being a member being part of auxiliary, working alongside Nema, working within our communities, it places Red Cross in the unique position to work. We bring something that is a little different and unique because we are 100% volunteer-based, and our volunteers are from within the community. So we listen to the community. What's important to the community, not what we wish to give to them, but what is important to them. But being the skilled, trained body that we are, we also provide them and guide them towards the tools that would make each community more resilient, hence our federation.
Wow. Wow. Well, I wanted to just clarify at this moment. Previously, you made reference to NDMD, and just to let people know, that's the Nevis Disaster Management Department, or sister agency in Nevis. And CDMA is the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, which is the regional body that's actually putting on this conference, working through the lead agency, which is the local management office, that's Nema. And Roxane has backup. She she actually has her colleagues here with her because CDMA goes beyond St. Kitts. This is a regional thing now. And of course, there would be international partners that work along with the agency. So that leads us into Mr. Kestens now, who is the representative for the International Federation for Red Cross Societies, Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. So, Mr. Kestens, can you tell us about the organization at that level? Because it was pointed out to me today that it is an umbrella organization. I think I made a reference and the young lady thought it was incorrect, so she was sure to pull me up. So tell us about that umbrella organization.
Yes, the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Society was created in 1999, after the First World War. There was a recognition among different Red Cross and Red Crescent societies that there was a need for a supranational body that federates them together and contribute to its coordination. So the mandate or the mission of this organization, International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, is threefold. The first part of the mandate is about the coordination of the international humanitarian assistance. When a Red Cross society like St. Kitts and Nevis that is in the communities and is working with the Nema, sees that their capacities to address the needs of the affected population by a disaster is overwhelmed, they can call the International Federation, and we will make an appeal on their behalf to all the other 190 Red Cross, Red Crescent societies to support them to address the need of the population in St. Kitts. And through that appeal, we will contribute, or we will bring to St. Kitts and Nevis capacities in the form of teams to do assessment, or emergency response unit that could potentially be, for example, a level 1 hospital for first care, or a water potabilization plant, or even cash, to distribute cash to the affected families. So they have this capacity that we coordinate at the international level of calling for the support of the assistance of the other 190 Red Cross, Red Crescent Society. That's what we call our principle of universality. Every Red Cross or Red Crescent Society has the obligation and the responsibility of supporting other Red Cross and Red Crescent Society when they are in need. Our second mandate, or second pillar of our mandate, is what we define briefly as humanitarian diplomacy. And Roxane explained a little bit about that. We are the voices of the people. So we talk on behalf of people with the governments to advocate about their needs, or advocate to have access to, or advocate in terms of how we see the situation evolving in a given context, and for influencing what the different authorities and stakeholders are deciding in that time. Our third mandate is supporting each of these Red Cross or Red Crescent Society, in this case, the St. Kitts and Nevis Red Cross Society, to be a better Red Cross Society, to be more relevant to the need of the population in St. Kitts and in Nevis, and to have more strengthened capacities to provide more services and to reach further and better. So these are the three mandates of the International Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent Society: international coordination of international humanitarian assistance, humanitarian diplomacy on behalf of people, and supporting our members, Red Cross Red Crescent Society, to be more relevant to the context in which they work.
Did you say you had 190 members?
Indeed, yes. We have a member in every single country. I think there are about 10 countries in which they are not a Red Cross Society. The last Red Cross Society that was created was in Bhutan, in the north, in the country which is a border with India there. And indeed, yeah, we are covering the entire world. But more importantly, I think that in terms of number of members that we have 190, is that each of these members goes the capillarity of these members. So they are present in community, and we have over 450,000 local units around the world, and above 17 million volunteers that day in, day out are working with communities. The really comparative advantage or the differentiation of the Red Cross, in addition to the fact that Roxane mentioned that it's created by an act that we call Red Cross Act, is that volunteers of the Red Cross are in those communities, are from those communities, and they are before a disaster strike, they are there during the disaster, doing disaster response, and they will be there after a disaster happens, because they are from the same community in which we work. Recently, for example, in St. Kitts, we work in the creation of a community disaster response team. Those are the local cells that come from the community that we train, people that we train, and we help them to build some of the capacity. So they understand the risk in the communities, so they understand what are, let's say, the best road out if there is a flood, or they understand who is the person in the community that needs, better understand, because they already know, the person in the community that needs extra help maybe to reach the evacuation road, or they understand which is the family that is only one member or two members that might require an extra type of assistance. And they, when a disaster or when a hurricane is coming, for example, they go out and do the alert, what we call early warning and early action. And all that is, what help us to be prepared and decrease the number of deaths each time there is a disaster of huge magnitude, like recently has happened in, for example, that affected the island of Carico.
Well, I'm happy you brought that up, because my next question was actually going to lead into some of the unique challenges the Caribbean, just based on how it is set out, would bring about. So, being responsible for the head of delegation, English and Dutch-speaking Caribbean, we've had several serious disasters over the past decade. what are some of the challenges, and how have you overcome those challenges trying to execute relief and assistance in the region?
Well, one I would say, obvious challenge for the Caribbean is the geography of the Caribbean, right? So a small, or the geography of any small island development state, you know. By definition, they are a small island, and they are separated one by each other. So there is the communication and the logistics or the transportation between the island that gets affected during the disaster, and in itself during regular time is already challenging. Is certainly a challenge. And how we have been overcoming that challenge is exactly what Roxane was doing: prepositioning stocks. So during time when there are no disasters, like now, we work with the members, Red Cross and Red Crescent societies, Red Cross societies in the Caribbean, to preposition, to understand what are the needs, or what would be the needs of the population in the community, and we bring already some humanitarian assistance that is being kept in warehouses, and it's being checked on regular basis for maintenance, to check if it is still within the guideline of the different elements, etc. And then after we do an assessment, when there is a response, we already have the humanitarian aid in the country, and that humanitarian aid can be used to, at least in the first days and weeks, be used to address the need of the population. And I said during the first days and week, because of course, while we are distributing the preposition stocks in the different countries, there is new humanitarian aid that is coming to the country. But then we have, a few weeks or a couple of months to reach that. And in the meantime, the needs of the population are being addressed.
Well, in closing, if you can share with me just some of your key insights where this conference is concerned. We are going to come out of the conference, and everybody would have taken away different things. But once we consider what the focus of the conference is, about this road to resilience, and using Ivan plus 20, which is the 20th anniversary since Hurricane Ivan, as a call for reflection, what do you, as a representative of your organization, have to say about what we need to keep in mind and where you think we need to go?
I like the synergy with the word road. Road means a path, it means a guide, it means onward, it means onward, it means continuous. So what I'm taking away is that resilience is a continuous process. It doesn't end at CDM13. It would not end at CDM14, and it would go on and on. It also, another thing that I'm taking away, just from listening to the various speakers, some of the challenges from the different organizations. Of course, it's around, there's the ever-present matter of funding, but we require funds, can do very little without funding, but it's the will. It's the continuous will of CDM, of Nema, of Red Cross, remaining relevant within the countries, within our individual country, within us as a region, for this to be an ongoing, continuous process. It doesn't end. We overcome hurdles, we set new boundaries, and we keep reaching towards resilience. It is continuous. Yes.
One of the hats that I'm wearing here in the company is the chair of the committee of civil society. So I would say that from the civil society organization perspective, of which one of which is the Red Cross, what we have achieved in these last 10 years with this comprehensive disaster management strategy is further reach into the communities. So we see more disaster risk reduction activities, specifically in anticipatory action, early warning, and especially a focus on recovery that we haven't seen before. So that's an achievement that certainly came with the strategy. Yeah, very good. And I think that sets the path toward the next 10 years, right? It has to do, how do we maintain that reach into the community that has been achieved, and connecting to what Roxane was saying, the capacities and the skills to mobilize local domestic resources, including from the community itself, to give sustainability to those activities in the community, right? And stop relying on international cooperation funds that we know that are for short term and for a short period or for a specific action, right? So we can use those funds, of course, to trigger some or to get some more reach at the beginning, but the sustainability of those activities, disaster reduction, anticipatory action, early warning, and recovery must happen, must take place with domestic resources, even resources from the same community in which we are working. The second topic, I would say, is anything that has to do with the regulations and policy. We are also working with CDM in one of the working groups for international disaster law. We are helping the different countries to develop provisions to include in the respective legal framework in each of the countries to make disaster management or disaster risk reduction or disaster risk management, climate smart disaster risk management better in terms from the perspective of law, facilitating the introduction of humanitarian assistance, the introduction of people with capacities when they are needed, or even facilitating the coordination between the different agencies or the different coordination. So for me, the second challenge for the next 10 years is to also focus on improving the policy frameworks and the legislation in each of the countries that are participating state of CDM.
Wow, thank you so much. I learned so much, and I thought I knew quite a bit already. So I can only imagine that I'm almost certain that someone took away something from this conversation, and I'm happy you were able to share the immense work that you're doing, not just in the St. Kitts and Nevis, but in the region, the Caribbean region. One Caribbean, we say? Yes. So thank you so much. Ariel Kestens, Head of Delegation, English and Dutch-speaking Caribbean with the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, and Roxane Brookes, our very own Roxane Brookes, President of the St. Kitts and Nevis Red Cross Society. And I am Jacqueline Bryan, Public Relations Officer at the National Emergency Management Agency, also called Nema, and I was your host for this edition of CDM13 Table Talks, brought to you by Nema. Thanks for joining.